Hey everyone, and welcome back to the video. In this video I want to start upon all the knowledge we have gathered till now on TypeScript and start by creating an entire Express server using our TypeScript decorators. So the idea here is to abstract all the logic that Express provides you and sum it down in decorators. So what we're going to do is create some sort of a simple functionality that Nestjs provides us. So if you haven't heard of Nestjs, it's a progressive Node.js framework, and I'm not saying that we're going to be creating all the functionality that Nestjs gives us, but we're going to be creating something that is really common in Nestjs, and that's routing using decorators, which is really amazing. So I think I have done this something similar when we were talking about some few other videos, but I guess at that time I wasn't really good at explaining how decorators works, but this time I have given up a basic idea, so I guess we can start with that. So right now I'm on my desktop and I have a directory called decorators already created, and I am inside of it, and right now you can see the directory is completely empty, nothing in there, and I guess really nothing in there. Yes, nothing in there. Now I also have that same directory here open in the VS Code, so you can use whatever code editor you want to use. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the entire project structure using npm. That means we're going to be installing a few dependencies, and so let's get started. So I'm using a version manager, that I'm using npm use LTS. If you're in something else, you can use whatever node version you have. So let's get started by using npm init. I'm going to do a -y because I don't want to go about the hassle of writing all those things, and we're pretty fine with that. Let's install a few stuff, and I guess you already know. Let's start by installing our good old TypeScript because we need that. So I'm going to write a few stuff down. You can copy them at the end. So as you can see, we have quite a few dependencies as developer dependencies, and those are TypeScript, the types for Node, types for Express, types for Morgan's logger. We're going to be using that. And I guess we have ts node dev for our development logging and development server, I guess I'd say, and rimraf for it's a cross-platform RMRF, so that's why I'm using it. Then we have prettier, we have ESLint, we have a few Airbnb configs, and you could say thing that we're going to configure with ESLint. We have ESLint itself, we have ESLint plugin for prettier, and ESLint plugin import. So yeah, go ahead and copy that and install it. Once you have that ready, let's go ahead and install some dependencies, and I'm going to do a yarn add, don't do a -d now. And we need, so right here we're installing course, we're installing cross-env, we're installing .env and express. I guess you already know what these 4 packages do. I guess I didn't set it in the very start, but if you're following along this tutorial, make sure you have a bit of experience with express. That's what I'm assuming. Then we're installing Express async errors, we're installing validator for Express, we're installing Morgan, we're installing reflect metadata that I'm going to be talking about later in time, what is exactly for, instance for our logging library for that. One thing I want to point out is that this Express async errors is something that I have discussed in much more detail in one of my other videos. I guess if you are into error handling and all that sort of stuff, you should go check it out. So let's install all of these. Great, now we have that. Let's go back to our directory and see what we have. So we have these node modules folder, package.json, yarn.log, which is something that is pretty much enough for a good project, but let's start by writing a few scripts. So again, I'm going to write these up, and you can copy them down, or you can go to the repository link below in description, because I guess the reason for that is that I don't want to waste my time writing all this stuff. So the first thing we're going to write up is for cleanup. So these are the few scripts we're going to have. Is for starting development mode using ts node dev. We're going to have a linting script. We're going to have a formatting script using prettier. We're going to have a build script that's going to just do a run a tsc command. We're going to have a rimraf command for cleaning up the dist directory. Let's go ahead and set up our tsconfig.json file. So I'm going to create a new tsconfig.json, and you can do a tsc in -init or tsc init, which is going to probably initialize everything for you, but it's going to take a way too long time. So I'm just going to copy paste this stuff down, and you can view the you could say the repository that would help you write down the stuff pretty quickly, because this is so again, if you're thinking why are we copy pasting, it's just configuration stuff, and writing too much configuration isn't something that we are looking for here. So there we have it, and we have done a few stuff. We have included the target as ES5, module as common.js, motion resolution as no, declaration type because we're going to generate d.ts files, source maps, outer directory as dist, and the root directly as source. We have strict mode enabled. We are allowing synthetic default import, so resolving JSON modules just in case if you are using some JSON file. We are also making sure that we have ES module interoperability. We have decorators enabled and decorator metadata, because these two things are we're gonna need a lot. And yeah, that's just few configurations that we have. Other than that, we have a few setups to go around with ESLint and all that. So let's set that up pretty quickly as well. So let's go ahead and create a .eslint rc.js file, because I'm going to be using JS modules, and I'm going to paste some stuff here. So it's not that hard of a thing. All it is trying to do is setting up the environment as browser and ES21 true. We are extending the Airbnb base and Airbnb TypeScript and all those things that we already installed. We're overriding a few things for TypeScript files and making sure that the parser options are set it according to the tsconfig.json file that we have. We have the ESLint parser set it up. We're setting up the parser options. Again, we're like importing the plugins that we installed, the TypeScript ESLint and the prettier one, and defining some few rules that I prefer for myself, like import and extensions, which is one of the rules that you can read on prettier, or should I say, ESLint documentation. And yeah, that's that. So we have our ESLint configured as well. For like peacekeeping sake, we can create an ESLint ignore file, and I'm going to ignore dist, and I'm going to ignore node modules, so that it doesn't mess us up whenever it's like trying to check for something. Now again, that's pretty much all we need. Now I'm also going to create a .prettier.rc file, and I'm going to paste this stuff, which is pretty much, I guess everyone might be able to guess, is like enable single quotes, the print width as 120. This is completely up to you. Some prefer 80, some prefer 120, completely up to you. Then there's semi-true, which means semicolons are true, and trailing commas as well. So that's our setup. Also, let's go ahead and create a new folder called src. Let's head inside src and create a new file called index, or should I say app.ts, because we're using app.ts right here, which is right here, source app.ts, which is our entry file. So for double checking, let's just log something and say, hey, this works. So this is just for making sure that this thing is actually working or not. So let's go back, and I'm going to do nvm use lts again, one more just to double check, and I'm going to do a yarn. Now let me just double check what was the command again. Let's see, start dev. Okay, so I'm going to do a yarn start dev, and they should output everything for us, and we're getting the logs, and yeah, that's that. Hey, this is working. So yeah, that was just for the check. So for this project, we're going to start with a class-based approach, and so therefore we're not going to start with this app.ts file, because I just want to make sure that everything is bootstrapped in one file. So let's go ahead and create a new file called bootstrapper.ts, which is going to be like bootstrapping everything that we have. Now let's keep the first word at small b, so we have that. So let's get started. The first thing we need is that we're going to create a class, and let's call it express application. That is an express application that is going to be called whenever we want to initialize everything. And let's declare a private variable, private app, that's going to be of type application, coming from express. Again, now we're going to declare a new variable called private, and let's call it okay, fine, let it be for a while. Let's just go with the bare bones structure that we have. Now let's declare a constructor, because this thing is going to be requiring a constructor. We're going to do quite a lot of stuff here. Now let's declare a private port, because we're going to need that, and let's make it string. Now you might wonder, okay, wait, what the hell why is it string? I will be telling you a bit later. It's not string, but string and number, and I'll tell you why. Now let's also create a new one. Let's call private middle vars, and it's going to be any. Now you might be like, wait, what? Why any? And again, we'll come to this later, because the core idea here is that middlewares aren't something that are going to return something like very peculiar. They are not going to be something that are going to be of some similar, or should I say very same structure. That's why we're going to use any. And maybe if I find something else, I'll let you know. Now again, for controllers as well, we're going to have type as any, because we're going to configure them ourselves. Now inside of the constructor, we're going to make sure that this .app is equal to express. We're going to initialize our express application here, which isn't coming up for some reason, but let's just import it like this. So we have express, and we can initialize it like this. So this creates a express application out of that. Now to start this application, we have something quite similar, like quite easier to do, which is not simply starting our application. So let's go back at the very bottom, and I'm going to start by creating a script called public start. Now, as you can observe, we have things as private, and the reason for keeping them as private because I don't want to expose them. And the only thing that I want to expose is the instance when it is when it starts listening. So I'm going to do a public start, and I'm going to open this up, and just I'm going to do is return this dot app dot listen, and we're going to listen to this dot port, which is the port number, and then we're going to pass in the callback function. Now this app.listen will start listening on this port, and all we gotta do is just log something for now. And let's just say application. Let's just use this. So application. So this seems plausible to me. And now you might be wondering, okay, how are we gonna go about doing this? So all we're gonna do is that we're gonna export. Now, one thing I want to note, or should I like make sure that we are following, is a proper importing syntax. I don't want like default exports at one place and other sort of exports at the other. So let's just see if we are allowed this. Okay, we are allowed. But yeah, let's just follow this way. So we're gonna import everything as selective imports, or should I say. So I'm just gonna import express application from /bootstrapper, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say const app equals new express application, and this application, remember, takes in a port. For now, I'm gonna supply it port of 3000. Let's make sure it's 5000 or something, and that's that. Right now we're also requiring middlewares and all that things, but I guess it's gonna throw an error for that, right? Yeah. So let's go back ahead and give it an array for these two and make sure it's an empty array, and we're gonna be worrying about this a bit later. So all we're gonna do is that we're gonna do an app.start, fire that up, and assuming everything works, this is going to start our server. So let's go with yarn start dev and wait for it to work. So as you can see, our application is ready to accept connection on port 5000. So that's that for this video. I'm going to start by creating our main functionality of our bootstrapper and maybe configuring a bit of decorators and all that, but that's for next video. So keep tuned. We have a lot of things coming up, and I hope you enjoy watching them. Thanks for watching this.